Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 14 Plus and see how this particular iPhone holds up in 2024. Now, the thing I will tell you about this particular iPhone is that it's still a very, very good device. Apple is still selling this thing brand new. It still has a ton of capability and a ton of quality. And, you can definitely do better than this iPhone now, but it's still a very good device, and I'm a big fan of this phone for sure. So if you want to pick it up, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there, and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off with the outside of the iPhone 14 Plus, you can see on this particular phone, you're getting a 6.7-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display, and it's, a pretty good panel. There's really not much to kind of hate on it here, and I feel like Apple did a pretty good job with this particular display at that time. It was the first time they brought back that Plus, iPhone since many, many years before, so it was like years and years and years. They eventually brought it back with this particular device, which is genuinely very cool, but I would tell you for the most part, the only thing you're lacking on this particular device is the 120Hz ProMotion display that we have on the Pro models. But beyond that, it's not even that big of a deal. And I'll probably be honest, even with the dynamic island versus the notch, even that's not even that big of a deal for me personally. So overall, you're still getting a really good display on this thing. On the sides, complete flat sides in this iPhone, which still look very, very good. On top of that though, on the bottom, this is where things may start getting a little bit more interesting. You are basically getting a lightning port on this particular iPhone, which isn't the end of the world. It's not that big of a deal, but you kind of do have to remember that on this particular iPhone, you're actually, this was the last iPhone to basically bring that lightning port. Ever since this particular iPhone, you are basically getting that USB Type-C port. So that's probably one thing to kind of keep in mind there. Was that if you are wanting the iPhone that basically has a little bit more capability, USB-C is going to be better, and this was basically the last iPhone to essentially give you, the lightning port. So keep that in mind, not a big deal, but just one of those other small things to keep in mind there. On the backside, you're getting your standard glass back, which again looks and feels very good. I love having a frosted glass back, and this type of device from that perspective holds up very, very well. So, it still feels good. But the other thing here, there's a lot of buts in this video. The other thing here is that with our iPhone 15s and the 15 Pros, all those iPhones have since basically given us frosted glass backs. So this was also one of the last iPhones to bring that standard glass back. So again, it's not the end of the world, but that was just one other thing to kind of keep in mind here. And if you're talking about those particular iPhones from back then, you're definitely going to be getting a better, performing iPhone in every single way. On the current generation iPhones, they're going to be better in almost every single way. But that's exactly what you'd want on a newer iPhone. This one is giving you MagSafe, glass on the, IP certification, wireless charging, a lot of good stuff too. But I will tell you from what I've seen and what I've personally done, you are definitely going to be getting a better upgrade on the outside on the 15 Plus over the 14 Plus. So kind of keep that in mind, but that kind of covers it up from that particular perspective. Now moving on, I will tell you from a price tag perspective, this iPhone is still being sold brand new by Apple. But the problem is that this iPhone is being sold brand new, pretty much the same exact price as the iPhone 15. So that is kind of somewhat of a problem, I would say, because why would you go and buy this iPhone when you could buy the iPhone 15 for the same exact price? That's kind of like another complicated thing kind of going on here too. Again, it's not the end of the world, but that is just one other thing that I noticed is why would you just do that when you can just buy when you can buy the iPhone 15 and have the newest iPhone from that perspective. So kind of keep that in mind too. Not the end of the world, but just another small thing. Now from a camera perspective, this particular iPhone on the outside, like the backside, has a dual camera setup. So it has a wide and ultra-wide camera, which I think is great. Having a wide and ultra-wide camera is very good. It's pretty much the norm nowadays. You are essentially also getting, when it comes down to it, 4K at 60 on the back and 4K at 60 on the front as well. So again, that's a really, really cool thing. Having that type of capability is awesome. You're getting, good resolution, you can film it. And on top of that, with this particular device, you are going to go through and basically, essentially get. But the other thing to keep in mind here too is that with this particular device, you are actually going to be able to go through and essentially, be able to just film videos in Snapchat and TikTok and all these other places too in a fairly high quality, which is exactly what you'd want. So in my particular opinion, from that perspective, you're getting a very decent camera on this particular iPhone. But there isn't really anything where I look in this iPhone and be like, oh my goodness, this is the best camera of all time, or this particular device is perfect. I don't really think that. I think this device is very good in a lot of different ways, but I would also argue and probably say that on this particular iPhone, you're going to be getting an iPhone that is going to not probably be as good as the iPhone 15 Plus, because that one was able to give you 10x zoom versus the 5x zoom on the 14 Plus. But even at that point, it's not even that big of a deal, and you're still getting a really, really decent iPhone from this particular device too. So that kind of covers it up from that perspective. Now moving on, with this particular iPhone, from a software perspective, this is kind of the thing going on for this particular iPhone. I will tell you with the iPhone 14 Plus, this iPhone is going to be lasting for quite a bit of time. So this iPhone is not going to be, outdated anytime soon. You are going to be getting a long supported iPhone on this thing for many, many years to come. And that's exactly what you want. You'd want an iPhone that is going to be here for many years. And that's exactly what's going on for, with this particular iPhone. Is that you're going to be getting an iPhone like this one that is still going to be supported for quite a few years. So that's great. But the only thing that I can even kind of say that's kind of wrong is that, this iPhone, if you want the longer lasting one, go for the 15 Plus. But if not, this one is totally fine. And I, again, don't really have that much to complain about for this particular iPhone from that perspective. So that kind of covers it up there. Now from a performance side, this particular iPhone is giving you that Apple A15 Bionic chip inside of it with 6 gigabytes of RAM. And like I mentioned with this particular iPhone, you're actually going to be getting a pretty good performing device on this particular iPhone. It's a very, very good performing iPhone, which is exactly what you'd want. Like if you're wanting the better iPhone, this is definitely going to be a very good performing device. And there's, again, not really too much to hate on from this particular perspective. Like this is an excellent performing iPhone, which again is exactly what you'd want. I can't really think of too many things where I'm looking at this iPhone and I'm like, oh, it's not that great, or it has a problem, or whatever the case is. Like it is a really good performing device. For, basic applications and basic games, this is going to be perfectly fine for the most part. But even taking it up a notch, and if you're playing games like Genshin Impact, or you're playing super intensive Call of Duty Mobile, those types of games are going to be perfectly fine on this type of device as well. So even from that perspective, you're going to be doing yourself a very, very good, due diligence, I think is the best way to put it, by getting an iPhone like this, because it's going to be giving you very solid performance and very solid quality. So from that perspective, I would definitely say the iPhone 14 Plus's performance is very good. In terms of battery life, this is basically one of the best advantages of buying one of these bigger iPhones, especially one of these Plus iPhones. You are basically going to be getting an iPhone that is essentially giving you probably one of the best performing devices from a battery life perspective on an iPhone. It's giving you, a massive size battery inside. And from a lot of battery tests that I've ever done, from a lot of performance things I've done with this particular iPhone, it's held up very, very well. So from that perspective too, I love this iPhone. It's a very good performing iPhone from a battery life perspective. And like I said, it is probably one of the best battery lives you can buy on any iPhone as well. So to kind of sum it up, what I'll definitely tell you, I definitely would look at a device like the iPhone 14 Plus as being probably one of the best performing iPhones you can probably buy. It's a very good iPhone. It has so much capability and so much quality. And I'm a massive fan of this particular device. I look at this iPhone though, and I'm like, what could Apple have done a little bit better? Or is there anything that I look at that's amazing? And I would definitely say some of the standout features. One, the battery life of this iPhone is very good. I think it's probably one of its biggest assets. If you're able to go and buy an iPhone, this thing has an amazing battery life, which is awesome. I also think the performance of this iPhone is very, very good as well. So if you're going to go and buy an iPhone like this, you're going to be getting a very good performing iPhone as well, which is another pretty big asset. Beyond that though, I would probably recommend just buying the iPhone 15 Plus. I think that's going to be a way better deal than, this thing. Not a better deal, but it's going to be a noticeably better iPhone. And I would probably recommend buying that particular device and then buying something like this from what I can see. So that pretty much covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.